all of us, like I'm from the IT background, so like I can speak, but like you have to be a dominating position.
Oh, no, sir. I bow to your obvious experience. You are doing the lion's share of the carrying here today, sir. No worries, I'll be there. I've been dealing with this for the last 6 years. और आपकी बात सही थी शुरू में कि टॉपिक छोटा है, टाइम ज्यादा है.
Under you live.
Right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And after that very insightful discussion about predictive analytics and artificial intelligence, the future therein of insurance and InsurTech in Pakistan, let's talk a little bit about the fact that I mentioned earlier, that technology infrastructure investment alone is not going to be sufficient. See, the next generation of successful frontline insurance workers will be in increasingly high demand and must possess a unique mix of being technologically adept, creative, and willing to work at something that will not be a static process, but rather a mix of semi-automated and machine-supported tasks that continually evolve. Now, in order to fully understand where insurance as the preferred career of university graduates can be a choice, we've got an esteemed panel here with us today. Joining us from EFU Live, the HR head, Mr. Jalal Karamali. Then we've got Mr. Syed Muhammad Anwar, who's the head of IT at JS Investments. And then one of the co-founders for Ilaj. Now, Ilaj happens to be disruptive, huge, and seen amazing success. My very dear friend, Mr. Bilal Mumtaz. You guys have broken a lot of barriers, so it would be an interesting discussion. I'll start with Mr. Jalal Karamali. And my question to you, sir, is that whenever we speak in the context of university students, we've often heard guidance counselors and career counselors in Pakistan only suggest a career in insurance to students who perhaps have a major in finance or actuarial sciences. Do you think we're tapping into the right potential?
Those are traditional fields that are needed by insurance companies, and we're going to need them in the future. But I think, speaking specifically of Pakistan, the insurance sector of Pakistan is perhaps one of employment's best kept secrets. Insurance is a great sector for a college level student or university level student looking to start a career to enter into. Masla ye hai, we don't share that secret with university level students. I believe the onus is on us as employers to market ourselves to our potential future employer base at a very initial stage, to take the initiative and reach out to students early and put ourselves on their radar. And I think the insurance sector of Pakistan can compete very favorably with amongst the best industries out there today.
Right. Now, you make a very pertinent point, but moving on, Bilal. Now, we know that a lot of students, especially in the context of Pakistan, there's a negative connotation attached to insurance workers. And, we often hear things like, people don't want to see insurance workers as much as they not like to see doctors, for example, or policemen. Because, there's obviously that stigma attached, to the extent that I've even seen that when my brother was actually looking into a career in insurance, my younger brother, a lot of times people said that, hey, this is not the field to be in, and why don't you actually look into something in the development sector or finance? How do you think we can deconstruct, rather reconstruct this narrative?
So I'd like to start by saying that alongside traditional banking in Pakistan, at least now with the rise of Islamic banking, there's a misconception about insurance being very unethical. A lot of people have compared insurance somewhat to gambling, and that's not just the case in Pakistan, it's also the case in a lot of other developed markets. And then one can obviously segregate the types of insurance into general insurance or life insurance. Sometimes health is treated separately, sometimes it's a part of life. And one needs to be educated on the benefits that insurance can have for the end consumer. Like I like to talk from the guise of an end consumer as well, is that I am not in favor of receiving a telemarketing call from any organization, be it a healthcare organization, be it a bank. But when it comes to insurance, right, there's two things one has to realize, that it is something to safeguard you from, a calamity of some sort. That's why, banks have integrated health insurance plans, into their credit cards or their, current accounts. And at the same time, there's always that, savings plus insurance plans that people go, that customers always buy. And one normally, if you want to talk about a good use case, I think, definitely Jalal Saab and Sayed Saab, and you would be familiar with this Indian insurance company called Sahara, which at one time
Sahara Life.
a million people. So I don't know if we're there yet, where we've actually created that culture of, edifying the insurance salesman to that level. But, if I've interviewed insurance salesmen who wanted to work for Elaj or Sayed, which was the e-pharmacy that came before the merger with Sayed and Augmentcare that made Elaj, I would say that I was impressed with, how they carried themselves. They had a lot of confidence. They really had to grind, obviously, because they would represent an office. That office normally would even have their own social media presence, alongside, obviously, the main brand themselves. And I think people should be educated about insurance and the industry itself, and the benefits it can have long term, also, for small and medium enterprises as well, and how they can get started off, and how those risks can be mitigated, of course.
Absolutely, some very pertinent points. Now, moving to Mr. Syed Anwar. Sir, so we have seen in the past couple of decades, especially, in the past couple of years with regards to InsurTech. Earlier, it's now not just the finance graduates or the actuaries that are stepping into insurance, but there's a dire need for IT professionals, developers, UI, UX professionals, and there's a lot of change that's coming. So, how do you view, the potential for talent and attracting talent in the insurance sector in Pakistan?
See, I was in that industry from last 17 years, and what I have observed in the market, that many fresh graduates prefer taking job in a more defined and esteemed professions, such as like human resource and like finance, IT. And very few join the insurance, especially into the sales team. And I think this is because of the lack of awareness of his career. So I would like to encourage all of the like newcomers from the university to join that industry. And there are a lot of friendly professionals who can train you on the product dynamics, even if you don't know about the like insurance. So there is like whole training department is there who can like train you about the product dynamics, and also tell you how to expand the market penetration of this industry. Also, like I know that fresh graduates of Pakistan are very smart and intelligent, and they are from the generation which grow up in an era of technology. So the opportunity is here to come join us in the insurance industry, put in some of the hard work, get knowledge, and then you all can flourish. I would like to say that to my young kids that who can like take that challenging career with unlimited growth should consider this field. Hard work never goes in vain. Keep dreaming big and work tirefully to achieve your dreams, because in that industry, sky is the limit.
Right.
And I think Jalal Saab is like more relevant person to address on that. In sales, there is a sky is the limit. There is no limit of earning and no limit of the career growth.
Right. Thank you, sir. Now, moving over, Mr. Jalal. Now, with the advancements in technology and the rise of digital insurance, InsurTech, etc., most students are now concerned about the longevity of careers in insurance. You know, the essential men being replaced by machines argument. What is your analysis and your advice for those professionals?
The only person who ever lost his job due to the rise of technology is the horse. There will always be room for people. What's happening with digitalization and the adoption of technology, with the rise of, say, more device-driven and embedded mechanisms of delivering insurance and insurance protection? What's happening is that a lot of manual workers are transitioning into technical and knowledge workers. Your underwriting, your alterations, your customer experience professions are all your claims management, are all actuarial services, product development, new channel strategies. All of these are experiencing in the insurance industry a state of extremely rapid evolution. That's why, again, I go back to my earlier statement. We are, in my honest opinion, one of Pakistan's best kept employment secrets today. We don't just need actuaries and finance graduates. We need coders. We need IT specialists. We need lawyers. We need doctors. We need social media experts. We need employee experience experts. We need not customer care or services, customer experience designers. These are the new jobs, the new knowledge base and technical professions that are being created in the insurance sector in Pakistan today as we speak. We, as insurance companies, need to start walking into a very broad spectrum of schools and colleges where these students are sitting thinking that the insurance sector is either redundant or is a bunch of old men sitting in dark rooms counting money, and actually showing them and educating them about our long-term strategies, what we're doing to grow the market, increase our awareness, our penetration, and what the opportunities are available in insurance today. No one is losing their jobs. The jobs in insurance are evolving, and technology is leading the charge.
Right. Well said, sir. Moving on, Bilal, same question to you. Do you have a different perspective?
Absolutely. And I think there's two perspectives to this because I'd probably be more qualified to speak specifically on health insurance. So in the States, I know a fellow Pakistani American who had a background in IT and made his bucks over there. And then one day what happens is another Pakistani American who did his med school in the Caribbean, wanted to get done quickly, wanted to practice medicine as quickly as possible, comes to him and pitches him an idea. Now, see, in America, and I'm sure Mr. Jalal knows this quite well, and so does Mr. Anwar, there's a concept of a specialty pharmacy that deals specifically in medicines just for oncology or for hepatitis or for rare diseases, for example. And these are very expensive medication. And the only way one can even remotely afford to get a dosage on a monthly basis is through insurance. So basically, sorry, you're nodding?
Yeah. No. I think he's talking to someone else. Please carry on.
Okay. And it started off as a startup. And right, it might not be totally pertinent to your question about what someone does after graduating, because a typical med school grad is not an undergraduate, basically, or if someone does a bachelor, he does a specialized degree. But that startup, you could say, did really, really well. It dealt with insurance and distribution in the beginning. They sold that startup, and then now they're just focusing on the InsurTech side of it. Now in Pakistan, I've seen the startup ecosystem blossom from day one. I remember meeting the founder of Smart Choice in Karachi around 2015, and I didn't know that his form of microinsurance would actually become a brand in and of itself. Like in the startup ecosystem, you'd see him partner up with different co-working spaces, different organizations, and people would actually be receptive to having a benefits program. I even saw a pharmacy benefits program that tried to launch over here. And unfortunately, the case in Pakistan, even though, say it, still, in the form of even a large, is partnered with a lot of insurance platforms. EFU Life being one of them, and Allianz EFU actually being the arm that specifically dealt with medicine purchases. It's all co-payment over here. It's not really the smooth process that you see in the States where one goes to the doctor and the doctor says, okay, what provider of medicines do you want? How do you want it? Do you want it online? Do you want to pick it up? And so on and so forth. So Alaj essentially does have an insurance component to it. They don't directly offer insurance. What they do is digitize OPD processing for
Right.
huge, for insurance partners like AFU. And they've been working with them for quite a while. And what Jalal said was absolutely right. Like, the person heading that project for us is not somebody from the insurance sector, is not a medical professional, is not even, you could say, someone with entrepreneurial expertise. It's literally a coder that we made and empowered into a project manager. So now, instead of just, tweaking different codes, seeing how, for example, going into the algorithm, seeing how, he can even pitch to somebody that, oh, instead of getting all this paperwork done in 30 days, you go digitize the processes and you get this digitized and processed in 3 days. So you do need coders, you do need people dealing with the customer experience part of things. It's very natural, you need salesmen, of course, but it's become a part of the infrastructure where insurance has become just like any other industry. Everyone realizes the importance of digital marketing now. Everyone understands the importance of focusing on solid IT systems and your processes. And it's very natural that more and more insurance platforms will get more and more varied skilled employees in the future. So I totally agree with what he said, and that was my take based on the US market and based on what I've seen unravel in Pakistan.
Mr. Syed Anwar, where do you see some of the challenges lie? It can't be all good, or maybe we need to be a little more preemptive in terms of where the challenges will arise.
Well, Anja, I like to add something into the Bilal, whatever the Bilal has said to us, that we have introduced new technologies in our sector, but most of that technology are going to be used to facilitate the customers. We are not going to give any harm to our existing employees, or not going to eliminate any role into our company. And insurance company is also similar with the other type of industry. They have all kind of jobs, like in finance we have so many opportunities, in marketing, in HR, every type of department we have. What make us unique is our sales force. Sales team is unique with the insurance industry, and is distinguished from the other industries, because we normally have a very large sales force. And due to the dynamics of the product, we cannot eliminate that sales force and go 100% digitalized type of sales. At every point of time, you need somebody to explain the product dynamics to the customers, because we are just selling the promises. In case of any mishap to your loved one or to you, we are just selling the promises and some 4 or 5 papers to the customer. We are not giving anything, you can say, the tangible. We are not going to give anything to our customers. So for the promises, we need to have some face, some reasonable face in front of the customer, जिसके ऊपर वो trust कर सके. So as per my opinion, we are contributing in shape of employment. If you are going to say, we are contributing, we have heavy contribution into the Pakistani market, and just little lack of awareness. People by choice don't don't come to our industry. But for those who know the industry dynamics, they are preparing themselves from the initial stage. Like actuaries, they have a target to become a fellow and join some insurance company. They are preparing from the initial stage and join the insurance companies and the brokerage house, etc.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Sayyid Anwar. Mr. Jalal Karamali, now mind me for being the devil's advocate again, but where do you see the real challenges lie? Is it just a game of narratives, or um, is there, some real threats or perhaps challenges that the workforce of the future will have to face?
You do not recruit in a vacuum. Whatever talent you bring on board, whatever jobs you redesign, it all has to be driven by what the current and the future needs of the business are going to be. We don't just those days I see are rapidly vanishing where we would be recruiting because vacancy aa gayi hai, wo kursi khali hai, kaam kaun karega, wo le aao. Now you're going to be I think one of the challenges for insurance HR going forward would be to maintain an adequate skill inventory and presence in the company, and that's everything that's completely across your talent pipeline from acquisition to retention, employee experience,
Right.
rewards and benefits, and everything. That is where a considerable amount of work would have to be done in the future. There is also another external threat that it's a challenge, and it has two aspects to it. One is a challenge that is faced by all recruiters right now in Pakistan is हम 10 लोगों को interview के लिए बुलाते हैं, 2 आते हैं. That's going on in the market. We have a number one, it's very difficult to bring people in. And number two, when they come in within the first 24 months of their careers, they're highly migratory. So we have to be extremely focused on providing a robust employee experience, giving them lots of employee opportunities, and opening up a lot more of our industry and the company to these new inductees so they can see potential career opportunities for them, and then they can take advantage of that and grow. The second thing, which is related to something that Bilal said right at the very beginning, market perception. And to give you an idea just how far market perception in Pakistan has fallen, pre-1970, the largest insurance company in the entire South Asia and North Africa and Asia Pac region was in Pakistan. The entire region. No, that's before State Life. It's the old PFU Life. It was folded into State Life. That's what insurance used to be in Pakistan once upon a time, and these are glory days that we look back at, but we now need to recover. Presently, if you turn around and we encounter this, it's gambling, it's un-Islamic, it's not a viable career choice, the environment is boring.
Payouts are not made on time. We keep hearing that one as well, especially for those
which is perception based, because today 90%, by and large, if you look at it, 90% of all claims are paid out in 10 days or less.
No, but from the perspective of
it is a perception problem. Yeah. So these we need to so when you're talking about the devil's advocate and the strategic imperatives, these are the imperatives that we now need to go at. In terms of opportunity, though, there is tremendous. But once again, you attract the right kind of talent, you have to retain them, you have to give them the right career opportunities, you have to engage them at a very early stage and to show them that investing that time of their careers here is going to pay off for them in the long run. But then I'm not saying anything that any other HR head or any C-suite individual looking to build a skill inventory isn't doing that. It's just that insurance in Pakistan is on the cusp of very rapid digitalization, more so than most industries. It's the financial sector, insurance sector, and the banks. That's we're seeing it happen in front of our eyes right now. So the new economy, the new jobs that are going to come in, the new ways of approaching work are going to hit these two sectors first. And HR heads, organizations, senior level strategists all now need to take a long, hard look at the skill inventories that they have and have these strategies in place to make sure that we are retaining and keeping the right talent in our companies so that we can take advantage of this in the future.
So what you're essentially saying is that we need to encourage more and more university graduates not to see the insurance industry as more of a parking job rather than a long-term
We have to
career path.
compromise with our first choice. In some
Right.
ways.
Point noted. Bilal Mumtaz, now we spoke about the challenges. Where do you think some of the massive opportunities lie?
So naturally, like I mentioned before, there is a massive opportunity in health tech, and it has to be leveraged on, you could say, a lot of fintech solutions, not just ones that provide wallet services or um, ways to pay a different market, but also ones that facilitate insurance companies. And it's not just that one comes up with an off the blanket fintech insurance product. There's multiple avenues in which you can delve into insurance. There's insurance that covers the conventional space. There's insurance that goes, like I mentioned, to Islamic insurance bhi aage. A lot of other companies are offering that, and there's there's even intermediaries between insurance companies and payers, and that was actually what that company I was mentioning in the States has been able to do. So there is, naturally speaking, that whole ecosystem has to be developed, but health tech is one avenue where there's opportunities for insurance to come in and leverage its technology to, bolster and foster that ecosystem for growth. And naturally speaking, the financial sector also needs different sorts of insurance plans coming in. I think a lot of people do recommend the savings plus insurance plan as a good way to build your wealth. But then again, right? I've never really experienced it. I've heard some people have had bad experiences with that. I don't really know how it works. In all honesty, I think, like I mentioned, supply chain also requires that level of insurance. So it applies obviously to when you're an e-commerce site and TCS says, oh, for 100 rupees extra, your product is insured. But it should also cover, let's say, the inventory you have in stock. What happens over there, and then that's where a lot of scope for third-party logistics providers comes in. And if all of this can be made available online, not just comparing different insurance plans with each other, actually the process of buying insurance, I think that would be a huge win because that spells out accountability, transparency, reliability, and a way to actually grow not just the startup ecosystem but the business landscape of Pakistan as well.
So speaking about the startup ecosystem, and since your expertise are there, when we talk about the insurance or insurtech industry in Pakistan, we see a lot of graduates that might be very enthusiastic in joining as workers, but not many startup founders or potential startup founders that want to branch off into insurance or insurtech for that matter. What sort of advice do you have for startup founders that are perhaps looking into exploring new avenues?
I'd say it is a huge market out there, and the pie is really big. Like I would say the same thing for those willing to go into health tech. My company has a lot of different competitors. They're based in different cities like Karachi and Islamabad. Some have even come up in KPK. And in terms of insurance, right? I don't want to quote her name, but I knew someone who used to work for a health tech platform that was offering teleconsultations and microinsurance, primarily for demographic of low income households in Pakistan, and then they managed to expand the corporate sector. So this is an example of somebody that truly wanted to work in that environment and wanted to build a product of her own. Now, because of the fact that her CEO and her upper management weren't supportive of building this product in house, she kind of had no choice but to leave and start this product on her own. But the way she left the company was amicable because she at least discussed it with them. That, oh, this is what I want to do, and do I have your permission / your blessing to do this on my own if I decide to leave? And they said yes. And if they were, say, targeting very low income households in rural Sindh, she was now going to target low income households in Karachi and areas like Liari. And so a lot of startup founders, yes, they are there to, essentially solve problems. And I think she went through the right route where she should have actually gotten real world experience. She should have known the demands of working in an organization, especially the one that she was in, because the CEO, had substantial experience of working in Europe. He's a very smart guy. He had this vision of creating this platform like around 15 years ago, and it took him a while to actually get started. And so what I would say is that you obviously, I think it's a necessity to actually work in an environment where you learn how insurance works before you try to make your own insurtech startup.
Absolutely.
That's
Very,
what I
very
would-
pertinent point made. Mr. Syed Anwar, so in the interest of time, I'm going to ask you to sort of wrap up today's discussion and your take from this conversation.
What I like to say at the end that I'm sure you guys would have an idea that the minimum penetration of the insurance industry in Pakistan. So it is just like about 0.83% of the total GDP. So if we are going to try and increase that penetration into the market, so everybody would be a beneficiary. All the ecosystem will start earning, like all the startups, and we will develop a new product, and a new market will be open for us in the future if the demand will increase. Because like in corporate sector, if you are going to see the corporate sector, there is a static share of insurance is available, and like all 22 and 23 insurance companies are contributing in that share. So some companies are going to be insured by this year by EFU, and then again next year the same company will go and take the insurance from the Jubilee Insurance. So we need to increase the penetration of insurance into the market. So once it will be done, then people automatically going to the attraction of the industry will be increased, and people automatically start coming into that industry, because the doors of opportunity will automatically start opening if we have a increase in volume. So that's all from my side, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Bilal, your concluding remarks.
But I'd like to, stay on topic with this webinar, which was insurance as the preferred career choice of university graduates. And I think it's very evident that, like I mentioned before, like all other industries, there is no shortage of demand for various skill sets that it takes to go into insurance. But what I would like to say, and this might be coming from a startup background, is I think one needs to, get their personality type assessed, or get an emotional intelligence assessment to see if they can actually work in an environment like that. Like I was even suggesting before, that if somebody wants to work at a startup, there should be specific startup job fairs out there in Pakistan. It's not like, yes, hypothetically that can work, like a Kareem stand sitting next to an issue stand. But then, when people go to Kareem, they're like, oh, this seems like such a fun company to work in, but I'm getting paid less. I'm working more than I probably would be at EFU Life. What's the point of doing it? But then again, people want to. I mean, Jalal's laughing because that might not be the case. But he knows that, typically in a startup, if you compare, off blanket to a conventional company, people are actually burning the midnight oil. But they even people who want to work in a startup because they want to create an impact in a relatively short amount of time. And yes, that is, somewhat of a selfish mentality. But yes, everyone who works obviously wants to do something substantial for their CV. And when they're a startup, they can, if they do something really well, they can, in a short, minimal amount of time, they can start working on a project and then, see that grow. So I say that, right, whether they're working for an insurance startup or a traditional insurance company, they should know how the platform works. They should have a passion for it. They should even invest in those products themselves, see how that works for them. And like I said, there's no shortage of people who can foster the ecosystem. Like, why do banks pitch insurance products on behalf of those companies? Because maybe people get annoyed by telemarketers. Maybe no one has a bandwidth to even visit like a shop or to call them to know about insurance and how it works. It's the same thing with IT companies. Maybe there's a quicker way for an insurance company to do their job, and IT is the answer to that. And even in customer experience, like Mr. Jalal said, like if it's something that which I do feel can actually capture a huge part of the Pakistani market, especially the working age population of a certain socioeconomic demographic, then customer experience is very important because that whole process needs to be humanized. And maybe the terms that traditionally are associated with insurance can become much simpler. It's like, our brother used to say, when the mouse was developed, it was originally known as an XY position indicator for a display monitor. But it took a customer experience team to label that as a mouse. And now, obviously, every single person that we know sees a laptop and sees a mouse and a keyboard, obviously, as necessities. So perhaps that can be the case with insurance. And yeah, it's I'd imagine, right, there's a lot of scope in working in insurance because like fintech, it will be a part of every industry in mitigating risk and giving the provider and the customer peace of mind.
Thank you, Bilal. Now, Mr. Jalal Karamali, hadn't forgotten about you, sir. I just wanted you to have the last word. Your concluding remarks, please.
Well, first of all, we burned the midnight oil here also, which is why I was laughing. I will address points raised by Anwar Saab and Bilal Saab, if I may. To Mr. Anwar's point, in order for us to actually get insurance to where we, as a sector, and as a strong contributor to the country, to the GDP, we need those people now. So we should be focusing on bringing them in already. Just a little bit about EFU Life, and this is something we tell not just ourselves, but every new person who joins in. It's in the minutes of the first board meeting ever held of EFU Life, where our then chairman, God rest his soul, said very clearly, EFU Life views the provision of life assurance as a service to the country. And that's our culture. And we have a very strong culture of that here at EFU Life. And we are right, and I believe rightfully very proud of it. Within that culture, there is tremendous opportunities, and as I have been saying, for people then to come on board, which then to Bilal's point, you don't need previous insurance experience to begin or join a career in EFU Life. Come on board, we'll teach you. We know how to teach you insurance. The universities aren't doing it, but we know how to do it. Come on board, we will teach you. What you bring to your table is your drive, your ambition, and your imagination. We will provide insurance companies here, companies like myself, will provide you the platform to succeed, whether it's in application development, in actuarial services, or your non-traditional insurance roles, whether, for example, if you have a passion for partnerships, channel strategies, the department for you, maybe you are more of a strategic mindset, come on board. You're a graphic designer or a data scientist. Would you believe I, in my HR department, have a job for you? Because even now, I need graphic designers and data scientists to look at my data. So there's tremendous opportunities here. With the right culture, the right strategy, driven and tied to the business, and taking lots of proactive initiatives at the university level to share this information with the students, pitch a large tent, bring everybody on board, give them lots of opportunity early, and I believe we can do a good job of attracting fresh graduates into our companies and pushing the insurance sector up the list of favored professions for fresh graduates to join, in my view, my humble opinion.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you for joining us today. And I'm sure you've inspired quite a few people. So all the best, and please keep contributing to the knowledge economy. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We have another session coming up. Thank you.